families suffer unspeakable agony from years of unresolved abductions confirm that quiet diplomacy is inadequate. Of course, conversations and contact are important, but it needs to be backed up with concrete actions as well. In 2014, Congress unanimously passed the Goldman Act to give teeth to requests for return as well as for access. The actions against non-cooperating governments required by the law escalate in severity and range from official protest through diplomatic channels to the suspension of development, security, or other foreign assistance. Extradition of abducting parents also may be the case. The Goldman Act is a law calculated to get results, as we did in the return of Sean Goldman from Brazil in 2008. And I stay in very close contact with them, and both father and son are doing extremely well. This year's report, as required by the Goldman Act, singles out 19 countries in total, including India, Brazil, Japan, and Tunisia, for failures to work with the United States in the return of abducted American children. For instance, the report notes 83 abductions to India still open at the end of the year, with 25 of those being new in 2015. Only one was closed with a court-ordered return to the U.S. These numbers will continue to climb each year until India creates a mechanism for resolution. Right now, India is a magnet for abductions because taking parents are almost guaranteed to get away with their crime. Brazil had 17 abduction cases open at the end of 2015, with a 27% resolution rate. Brazil has been a convention partner with the United States since 2003 and as yet consistently fails to comply with the Hague Convention. Devin Davenport, who has testified before this subcommittee, has won every one of his 24 appeals in Brazil's courts over the last 7 years, and yet he still cannot get his daughter, Nadia, home. If there ever was a textbook case for sanctions, Brazil is it. They have met the legal threshold 10 times over. The report lists Japan as a, quote, country that has failed to comply with one or more of its Hague Convention obligations, specifically in the area of enforcement of return orders. Multiple parents have won Pyrrhic victories in court, only to discover Japan has what the report calls systemic flaws with enforcement. What remains inexplicable is why Japan was kept off the list of non-compliant countries for a second year, thus shielded from the imposition of sanctions prescribed by the Goldman Act, even though the department condemns them for systemic flaws in their ability to enforce court orders. Failure to enforce return orders is a sufficient trigger for landing on the non-compliant list. And I say that again, the plain meaning and text of the Goldman Act, that is enough to trigger being listed as non-compliant. One parent had to go outside of the convention framework to achieve enforcement in an extraordinary case resolved after the reporting period. The report should also have counted against Japan the 40, count them 40, pre-convention abduction cases it mentions as still pending, most of them for more than 5 years. Countries should be listed as worst offenders if they have high numbers of cases, 30% or more, that have been pending for more than a year. Again, Japan, most of these are more than 5 years. Countries may also be listed if their law enforcement, judiciary, or central authority for abduction regularly fails in their duties under the Hague Convention or other controlling agreement, or if the country simply fails to work with the United States to resolve the cases. Accurate reporting, including inclusion of the worst offenders list, is critical to family court judges across the country and parents considering their child's travel to a foreign country where abduction or access problems are at risk. However, reporting is just step one. Once these countries are properly classified, the Secretary of State then determines which of the aforementioned actions the United States will apply to the country in order to encourage the timely resolution of cases. Such actions should bring an end to the nightmare of the Elias family, whose children, Jade and Michael, who live in New Jersey, but they now have been abducted to Japan, have been missing in Japan for 8 years. The father has testified before our subcommittee twice in the past, an Iraqi war veteran, and it is heartbreaking, like it is for the other families that are here, to know that their children languish in a setting where parental alienation causes severe and significant deleterious effects to their mental health. And that has been well proven, and the longer the years, the worse it arguably becomes